So my proposal was every time we end the podcast, we need to end it like with a method, right? And so I was thinking, what if we all like try to clap with our eyes closed and try to sync it up?
That is never gonna work. Hi everyone, and welcome to Overinspected. I'm your host for today, Manu, and today with me I got two great co-hosts, Carrie and what is this guy? Chai. Hi guys, what's up? How's it going? Welcome to the first episode of Overinspected. Are you guys excited?
I am hyped.
Let's
My
go.
blood pressure is like 5,000 right now.
Let's go.
You know, it's like I've thought about making a podcast like show for so long, and then the funniest part was we spent the last hour deciding on what we were gonna do, and we were deciding on our name on the podcast, which is so dumb.
I think it's funny how like we spent an hour trying to decide the name, right? And then we came up with Overinspected, and we're all like, yeah, this is pretty good. And then I still kept forgetting the name until like now I think I'm good. Now that I don't need to do the intro anymore, like now I'm good. It's the Overinspected podcast.
Yeah.
Episode 1. Yeah, very excited to be here to be starting this.
But you know what? I think it sounds good. I think it's awesome. So,
I think it's a great name.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
we made a good decision.
Hopefully the viewers agree.
The idea
if you don't
is
agree, then
to
that makes me really sad.
well, we're gonna make the viewers agree.
We're gonna make the viewers agree, guys.
That sounds like we're gonna like force it down their throats. Like it's Overinspected or bust.
Yeah. I mean, the idea is, I don't know if this is like official, but there will be topics that some people just brush off as trivial or not interesting, but we're gonna over-inspect them.
Yeah. That's actually an excellent segue into what I wanted to talk about. So like as we've already been blabbering on for I don't know how long, but you all might be wondering like, you know, what are these guys doing here? Like why did I click on this video? What is Overinspected? Well, I guess to tell you quite briefly, you know, originally I think this was Chai's idea. He wanted to do a cubing podcast, right? Where, you know, we just get on a bunch of cubers. I'm a cuber, Carrie's a cuber. Carrie actually probably pretty well known cuber at this point. Oh yeah, sorry. Cubing meaning, you know, solving Rubik's cubes, twisty puzzles. Yep. Okay, everyone's bringing out their cubes, so I have to bring out mine too.
Mine's bigger.
All right, guys. We don't need to. Well, come on, guys. I already have the worst camera quality. I can't have like the smallest cube now too.
The smallest cube also. Size doesn't matter.
But yeah, so yeah, that's what this is. It's a cubing podcast by three cubers. But, you know, not just a cubing podcast. We plan to cover a lot of other stuff because we are like humans. Well, I think we're all human at least. And we have a lot of other interests, hobbies, other things. And so we hope you'll stick around for more of that stuff.
Yeah, when we were thinking about what content we wanted from this show, obviously, like, we're all cubers at heart, like Manu mentioned, but really having a free flow and not being restricted to not being able to talk about whatever we wanted to talk about and just having a good time, because we were just thinking about like all the conversations that we would have and just imagining what if we just recorded that. And then especially during like the pandemic is when I really tuned into those type of shows just to, you know, kind of get the vibe and just almost feeling like there's another friend just right around the corner, which is kind of crazy. That's a little bit sad, but it's really how it felt. Carrie, do you remember when we were talking about making a podcast? Do you remember how long ago that was?
Yeah, I think we tried to do a podcast before the pandemic started. So
really?
This is definitely, yeah, I remember I was in my senior year dorm, so that must have been 2019. So I think, you know, we tried it and it didn't quite work out, but the timing seems to be more right now than it was back then, you know, with everyone indoors. And like, I feel like Speedcubing is sort of reviving because it's sort of, you know, faded away in 2020, and now's a good time to bring it up again.
Yeah, I mean, also because like I think like a lot of people got into cubing during the pandemic, right? When you're just stuck at home, there isn't really much else you can do. So I know that that was like one of the big reasons why competitions were like filling really quickly. Well, one I guess is also like restricted capacity, but also just like so many new people are into cubing. I think there was like, because recently we were gonna do, what was it, Berkeley Winter. It was like a 200 person cap, and of those 200 people, I think like 105 or something were newcomers. So the newcomers actually like outnumbered the returning cubers, which is kind of crazy, right?
Wait, you're talking about the most recent one that was coming up at the time, right?
Yeah, I think it would have been next week when it was gonna happen.
Gotcha. Oh, we're recording on January the 14th. So
today's
just
the 14th?
To set up the timeline. Yeah, apparently it's the 14th. Time flies. No, but I was just going back to the thing with Carrie. So I thought about making a podcast with him, and then we tried it one time, and yeah, it definitely didn't work out. But I think now, especially since I've tried making a little bit of content on YouTube and Twitch, and just getting familiar with content creation, and just getting in habit of like the workflow of like what would be needed and what we do need to expect from ourselves and stuff like that. But the favorite part was, Carrie, I don't know if you remember, we were all squished in a gig car when we were coming back from SAC. I don't remember which SAC comp we were going to, but that's where the conversation came out. I was like, it always stuck with me. Those gig car drives are hilarious.
Wait, was that so if this was 2019, was I the one driving the... It must have been, yeah, I must have been the one driving the gig then, right?
It was, okay, so listen guys. Manu is a speed demon. He's driving like a freaking Toyota Prius, like 105 miles per hour going straight towards like Sacramento. And I'm like, what the fuck? Our car is about to like tip over. But,
come on,
yeah.
dude. It wasn't that bad.
It's scary. Like, I would not recommend. He's a better driver now, but at the time, the Prius could not handle it.
Maybe it was like you needed the adrenaline through your system to kind of tease out the good ideas.
Yeah. I mean, look, I blame it on the Prius. The Prius is not a good car. It's not a good car if you want to drive on the highway and go fast, right? Like,
yeah, because it's pretty small. Well, there was a SAC competition just a few months ago, but I think you guys are referencing something that happened like years before.
Yeah,
right?
It was way years before. But
yeah,
like it's always the same. Like we're always doing the gig car drives. So.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning during one of those drives that you were trying to figure out how to turn speedcubing into more of a spectator sport, and you would always tell me like 4x4 is the best event for that.
Guys,
it's
is
the right
4x4
length.
not? Is it not, Carrie? Do you think so?
I think 3 blind is the most fun to watch for me.
Okay, that is a topic. That's a topic.
Yeah, but I just remember like we were trying to figure out, most speedcubers are in it just to compete for themselves, but most sports competitions, there's more spectators than athletes. So, maybe speedcubing needs to figure out how to appeal to the viewers, not just the solvers.
Well, I always found like what made cubing so interesting to watch. I think everyone loves watching like speedcubers. I think it's an inherently interesting skill. The issue is that the way that we challenge ourselves and the way that we execute the quote unquote sport, since we're not a real sport, is it's like golf. And golf, obviously, sometimes there are tournaments in golf, and the PGA Tour, no one's watching. I mean, there's TV broadcasts, right? But, I mean, that's way over our heads. But it's kind of the same thing, because you're competing against yourself, or maybe you're competing against whoever's in your group, like 1 or 2 people at most.
Yeah, I feel like the difference with cubing, though, is that, like, at least here's what it feels like to me. Like, if you are watching a speedcuber, right, at some point... Like for example, if you watch like a golf shot, right? I think like the average person has a good idea of what a good golf shot looks like, right? Like, it goes high, or it's just very accurate, right? Whereas like if you're a speedcuber, I think one of the appeals that you see, or like one of the cool things about speedcubing is when someone does like executes a cool maneuver, right? Like whether that be like an alg that you didn't know, or like does like some sort of like look ahead that you would not have seen. And that is not as, I think, what is the word I'm looking for? Like
It
the average
doesn't
viewer is just
translate.
not as cognizant of those kinds of things, right?
I guess for clarification, if you guys don't know, maybe like some of the stuff we're talking about, like look ahead, for example, is probably we're gonna reference look ahead so much in this podcast because it's just fundamental to cubing. The easiest way to think about look ahead is I think a lot of people are familiar with sheet music, so the easiest way to think about look ahead is what you're playing is not what you're looking at when you're sight reading. You're actually reading the next few measures down and you're playing whatever you already were looking at before. So you're like looking ahead 2 or 3 measures and then you're playing in the past, essentially, from what your brain is understanding. So that's essentially look ahead. You already know what you're going to do. You're just looking for the next step.
Also,
That's
as a
good
side
analogy.
note, I just realized the look ahead would also have been a great podcast name.
The look ahead podcast.
Look ahead. Oh, it's not too late to rename it.
Let's
Wait, let's
we need
brainstorm while we
need to set a
podcast.
poll. We need a poll, guys.
We need a poll now?
Overinspected or look ahead. But
That
I
is
don't
that
know.
is a good point. We could just change it. All I have to do is we could just well, we don't even need to re-record the intro.
We're keeping it. Like whatever was already said. I think it was good. And if it does get renamed into the look ahead, then
We're learning.
people will know the story.
No. Here's what we'll do,
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
What we can do is that we can release what we'll do is we can re-record it, right? And then we can have hi guys, welcome to the Look Ahead podcast or whatever, or welcome to the Look Ahead. And then what we can do is later down the road, it'll become lore or whatever, right? And then only the OGs remember the what is it called? The Overinspected podcast.
Yeah.
The Overinspected name instead. You know how they have those icebergs or whatever? This is gonna be the
Yeah,
bottom of the iceberg.
bottom.
Overinspected.
But it's gonna be the very first episode, so I feel like it won't be it'll be well known.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
Unless you re-record it, but again, I don't think anything needs to be re-recorded.
Yeah.
I think we should let the audience decide
Yeah.
because
No,
they're both great names. So
Do a community
I
post.
like both. Honestly, we should just start introducing every new episode. Hey, welcome to Overinspected Look Ahead.
Oh no! Now needs to know what we're talking about.
Alright,
Like,
wait.
so-
I think this is the case where
I'm a menace to society.
I think this is the case where the
Overinspected
sum of the
look-ahead
parts
experience.
is definitely less, or the sum of the parts is less than the sum of the individual pieces. Okay, never mind. I don't know what I'm saying anymore.
Yeah, a little bit.
the name. If you combine 2 good names, you get a bad name.
Yeah.
Plus
yeah.
two
Yeah.
equals bad.
I guess.
So
or
positive plus positive equals negative. Wait.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I think.
Is that how math works?
No, that's not how.
No.
I don't. Well, okay. Well, not in if you in standard arithmetic, it does not. Maybe in some weird. Well, yeah. If you have modular arithmetic, then of course, right? But then everything is positive and negative. So.
I think modular arithmetic is tangentially related to speedcubing, so I do think that if there are viewers here who are only in it for the speedcubing, this is still relevant to them.
Wait, can I ask? I need some clarification. Sidebar.
No.
That's a synonym to tangent, right?
No, I figured out what you were referring to all these days. You're thinking of side note.
No, sidebar. That's a phrase, right? Is that
No,
right, Carrie?
I've never heard it before.
When I hear sidebar, I think of kind of a thing on the side of the screen that has all the tools and
Okay.
easy to access buttons. So on this Discord call, the thing that says members 3 and then our 3 usernames, I think that would be the sidebar.
Yeah,
Wow.
I've never heard anyone say sidebar as a synonym for tangent other than you, Chai.
All right. Well,
I'm pretty sure you mean to say you might have taken it from side note instead, as a side note or as an aside.
Yeah, I think I can see side note, but language is always evolving.
I guess that's
And,
true.
so I'm
Yeah.
part of the evolution, guys.
I mean, if this podcast is listened to by 300 million people or something, then Chai might be
Maybe
responsible.
sidebar catches on.
Maybe sidebar cat is on, guys. Let's make
Maybe sidebar is
cat-
at the top of the iceberg.
Ooh.
Oh, this iceberg is already getting pretty populated. It just started a few minutes ago.
Yeah, I like how we're building the community lore ourselves, and we're saying
before
like, guys,
disagreeing.
you got to put the side note at the top, or the sidebar at the top of the iceberg.
So
the sidebar goes on the side though. Yeah.
well, I think probably people are gonna ask us why are we posting this show on this YouTube channel, CubersLive,
Oh, yeah.
right? So I think it would be appropriate to, if you're not familiar with CubersLive, for us to explain it real quick. So as you guys know, at the beginning of 2020, like around March, right? March, April, that's when the pandemic really started for the United States. And a lot of the competitions from the World Cube Association was getting canceled. And then we were all isolating, staying at home. Like barely any of us were working, if we were working adults at the time. So it was pretty interesting and hectic. Were you in Ohio at the time, Manu?
Yeah. I had gone back to my parents' house because there was no point. Because that was my last semester in college. So
Yeah. Carrie, were you at home or were you at school?
I was at school, but then like right when all the lockdowns were announced, I went back to my parents' house.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Which
So like a
is-
lot of us went home, right?
Yeah.
So it was pretty interesting during that time. And then our region, we're very familiar with competitions happening like every 3 weeks. It was like non-stop competitions for Rubik's Cubes. So we made an online speedcubing competition through CubersLive, the CubersLive channel. And that's
I
kind of
remember that.
yeah, that's kind of how it started. Carrie, we asked you to do like a beta test for us essentially, and it was really cool. So if you guys are actually scrolling through all the rest of the videos, you'll see that that's what we did, and then I think we did a really good job at the end. But I don't know. The funny story was we made CubersLive because when we were building it at first, the conversation, Manu, I don't know if you remember this. The conversation was, let's build a live stream platform for cubing competitions.
right.
And then that's how it started. But competitions were never going to come back, it felt like, so it just never happened. So we audibled in a sense. Do you remember that?
Yeah. We were just like, yo, if competitions are not gonna come, I think this was also part of the. I guess at this point, this is like the legendary like SAC gig or whatever. But we were discussing this, like doing live streaming competitions. I don't know. Some viewers may or may not be familiar with Mental Block TV.
Yeah,
they
probably.
They used to do a lot of live streaming back in the day, run by Devin and Weston. They would do a lot of live streaming. I think at some point they were also live streaming nationals too. So we wanted to do something similar to that, except kind of like push it a little bit more modern. But yeah, when competitions weren't happening, we're just like, all right, I guess we'll do it ourselves. That was the birth of Twisty Puzzle Cup, and then I think another one we did a really good job was the FTO Melee, the FTO
Yeah.
Invitational.
The
I didn't
FTO
even know
Melee.
about that one.
Yeah, the FTO Melee. So you know FTO, right, Carrie?
Yeah. I don't know how to solve one, but I have played with one.
I'm trying to find it. Oh, yeah. So FTO is basically short for, and by the way, I was not planning to plug this, but it's funny.
Plug it.
Yeah, face-turning octahedron. Very interesting puzzle. It's not recognized as an official puzzle by the World Cube Association, so any results that are done on this puzzle is not official, essentially. But we decided it'd be really cool because there's this huge like subset. It's like a niche community, just being super competitive about it, pushing barriers, sub 20, sub 15, and then they were modifying their own puzzles, kind of like in the good old days with Speedcubing. And then we just held a competition for them, and it was crazy. It was like I don't remember exactly how it worked, but we did a round robin. Like we tried to break the mold. Like with
we
how
did
it was
World
done.
Cup style actually. So I think no other speedcubing competition had been held that way. So I think we had 16 competitors. We put them all into groups of 4. Then we did a World Cup style. So you all have like your, I think it was a round robin group, and then from those you take like the top 2 seeds, and then you match them up with the top 2 seeds of the other the other groups, and then you get a bracket that way. So that was really cool. I think all of those videos are actually still on YouTube. You can actually look at those right now. So that was another cool venture that CubersLive did. And then somewhat recently, we also did manage to do live streaming of a real comp, of 2 real comps actually. I think SAC Cubing 10 and a competition in San Luis Obispo. So yeah, those
Yeah.
VODs, I don't know if those VODs are on the channel, or they might be on the channel by the time you watch this, but yeah.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
Yeah. I went to that Sacramento competition, so I saw the whole setup with the webcam, and there was even like a curtain to separate. I don't know if the curtain was used to separate the live streamers from the competition, but it was pretty impressive.
Oh, the curtain. Oh, the curtain. I'm pretty sure that was a scramble curtain, wasn't it?
Yeah, maybe it was just to hide the scrambler. So I'm like misremembering.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were thinking about experimenting with like putting a curtain to separate the live stream, because at some point we realized that I think sound can also be a problem, right? Like, because if we're sitting here commentating, we were like relatively close to the actual cubers, so there was potentially like they could hear us commentating their solves live. I don't know, it could have been a problem, right?
Oh.
So,
It could definitely particularly be a problem in 3 blind solving for sure.
Yeah.
Like any blindfold quiet events, like that could be a problem.
Yeah, I could see that. At some point, you're going to need like a soundproof room to like office.
Well, actually, I mean, you would see like, you guys know like singing YouTubers, like they would have these like what do you call it? Anyways, they'd have like a ring, like a metal ring, and then you'd put blankets over those metal rings. So you soundproof
like a shower
yourself.
or something?
And yeah, exactly. And you have just this little like recording studio because your voice doesn't leave the actual bedding, which is pretty funny. So it's like very makeshift. So there's a lot of options that you can use.
Yeah, I mean, then for the live streaming, the ring has to encapsulate
The whole
whole
station.
setup.
Yeah, that would not
Like,
work. It's not easy.
yeah, well, it would
monitors.
not be a ring, right? It would yeah, I guess you're right, Carrie. It would just have to be a room.
Yeah, I think you can just not commentate on the blind events, but then like during all the other events, don't be as loud as you want, but I think it's okay if you talk in a normal volume, because the whole room people are talking anyway.
Yeah.
And if like a fast Speedcuber is solving and they mess up and then they hear like Manu in the corner saying, "Ooh, that was a big blunder by Max Park," like that's just, I guess, what happens.
Who am I to
when you
comment
solve
on
in
Max
public.
Park, man, dude? Any big blunder for him is like it's like chess, right? Like any blunder for him is like in double exclamation mark excellent for me. So
Yeah.
Dude, Max Park is nuts. I mean, there's no like, I can't interpret what he's doing. Like he's doing the same thing that we all do, but
But, like,
faster.
Twice as fast.
Yeah, just twice. Not even. It's like probably 3 times as fast.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like
By
I'm
the
sure
way,
his TPS is like 15 turns per second. Probably.
I don't. Maybe it's like 12.
Carrie's not willing to go to 15.
Wait, let's
Yeah.
think about it. What if it's like a standard 60 move solution? 12.
60 move solution, 5
Oh yeah,
seconds
you're
would
right.
be-
Yeah. You're right. Yeah, you're right. Well, I
Yeah.
barely get 6. I barely get 6 TPS, so he is double.
I mean,
Yeah,
he
and
does
I think you're
have
faster
a
than
lot
me.
of 4s, right?
Oh, true.
So yeah, maybe somewhere
Yeah.
between 12 and 15. Anyway, just really, really fast. This is just like a weird side note, but I guess while we're still sort of on the topic of CubersLive, I think we would be remiss not to mention the efforts of Pritham, because he was also co-commentator, also one of the main guys to set up CubersLive, especially a lot of the tech stuff. So yeah,
You'll probably
Yeah.
see. We'll
Shout out to
probably see
Pritham.
Pritham on this podcast.
easily. Yeah, definitely.
Easily.
Definitely.
I think Pritham might have been the one who invited me on the podcast, not the podcast, the live stream, when I got like a 7 on Pyraminx. So shout out to him.
Oh yeah.
Like during the
he,
competition.
he was doing like actual interviews, and I was like, wow, this is like next level stuff right here.
Well,
Hey, it's a high quality
felt-
production, right?
Yeah, high
Yeah.
quality production.
I felt honored because like I suck at Pyraminx, so the concept of like, oh, I get to be interviewed for my not that mediocre solve, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, actually, the interviews thing was really interesting because I never really saw that out of cubing. Well, at least if you're not like right on the podium stage, I definitely don't
Yeah.
see it. But what I did when we were at San Luis Obispo, Pritham said, "Hey, go interview Brandon Dunnigan." Brandon Dunnigan is this like crazy kid who in his first competition got like sub 7.5, won the competition, and was like, I don't know, he got.
I think.
Did he get NR3 on clock?
Yeah. So NAR is North American record. So out of all competitors who have ever officially competed in North America in the event called Rubik's Clock, you can actually kind of see it right. Okay, wait. There. That's a Rubik's Clock.
I see it.
A little hard to see. Chai's getting a slightly bigger model. But yeah, so out of all people to compete in Rubik's Clock in North America, this guy who's never competed before, and I think he was like NAR 3 or something.
It was like low 5, so it was very impressive. Just regardless of his ranking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, like I did an interview, and I was like, after I was done with that interview, I was like, whoa, this feels really almost feels like I'm in sports media almost. So that was really cool. I thought that was personally really fun.
One step closer to a sport, right? We gotta start doing the interviews, live streams.
One step closer to a sport, y'all. That San Luis Obispo competition was interesting because the drive there, that was definitely the longest I've ever traveled for a competition without flying. So the drive down there was a little bit tedious. I know people drive down there all the time. It's just for me, I wasn't used to it. We stopped by the most decadent IHOP.
Well, still an IHOP though.
Yeah,
was it normal IHOP prices?
It was normal IHOP prices. That's what made it so decadent. And then like there were like blue waffles, chocolate, coffee, refills. Oh
my god.
That was a pretty good IHOP.
That's good. I mean, that's the pleasure of road tripping. It's like you get to, well, not road tripping, going on a road trip. you stumble upon these like places you never would go otherwise.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's one of the things I really miss about like not having comps anymore is like, you know, not being able to just like kind of use it as an excuse to just go travel somewhere and just have a good time with your friends, right? Like,
yeah,
you know, like when we all went to Sacramento back in November. You know, we all just stopped by at the In-N-Out, just talked a bit, and then headed off, and then met back up at Chris's house. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, I remember like there was going to be World Championships in 2021 in like Amsterdam, and I'd never gone international to like just do a cubing comp.
Mm-hmm.
But I was thinking, you know, I'm an adult now. I should just, you know, a YOLO and check it out. But then it was canceled.
Yeah, that was really sad because I did the same thing. So, cubers, think about it. So, I started cubing in 2014, 2015. My first result didn't come until 2016, but I had never gone to like a bigger competition than a regional. So, when I had the opportunity, Nats 2019 versus World Championships 2019, I didn't want to do both. I just felt like I should just go to Nats first because I'd never been to a Nats size comp. So I went to Nats, great experience, and then ever since Worlds 2019 passed, I have always regretted it. Like it just seems so fun. Like just seems like an amazing experience. And at the time it was like, oh, it was like a money's sake, right? But that was a huge regret. So I signed up for the World Championships 2021 in Amsterdam. I was so bummed out that it got canceled, but I knew it was gonna get canceled, so I didn't book any trips or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't even apply for staff. Like I saw that one coming. The pandemic really changed a lot of things in cubing.
Yeah.
But I don't know about you guys. I really felt like, as a whole, so many more people got into cubing because of the pandemic. What do you guys think?
I think it's possible based on what you said, Manu, about like all the new timers signing up. I think like all the friends I have in cubing are kind of old school, so you know maybe there just hasn't been enough time for me to meet all these new folk, but I'm sure they're there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one thing I remember. So I guess this could be a whole podcast episode in and of itself. But back when I first got into cubing, I was in middle school. And I think that was like the beginning of like the second wave of cubing. But it was just what it felt like to me. You know, a lot of like young people like just got into cubing, and then from there they started going to competitions, and then from there I think cubing really took off, especially beginning in I think 2016. From there, I guess it also helps with that. I was attending more competitions at that point, but so that felt like the first boom, or the first boom for me. I guess the second boom overall for cubing. And then,
but wait. So the boom. Just like a random question. Do you think that boom coincided with like the bump in hardware? That was like right where
Yes.
the hardware had a
Almost
massive
certainly.
boom.
Almost
Yeah.
certainly it did, because it was just more accessible, right? Like,
Yeah.
the cubing, it was just easier for people to get into cubing, right? And I think now with the pandemic, right, and the fact that, you know, all the people who didn't have the opportunity to cube before because of work, because of school or whatever, you know, now they have an opportunity to just kind of to do that. And because of that, there are so many new cubers that I would not be surprised if, like, post-pandemic, well, if the pandemic ever ends at this point, if we see another, you know, huge resurgence in the popularity of cubing.
See, as I consider myself a little bit of a hermit, and like I'm okay with it, but you know sometimes I'm not okay with it personally. And like the advice I always get is, oh, do something new, try something you never tried before. And then at the end of the day, like, because all my friends know I cube, right? Like my non-cubing friends. At the end of the day, like it's great that you do what you love to do and you do things that you like, but at the end of the day, you're just always so alone. And I'm like, thanks for pointing that out, buddy. But I mean, that's the thing about the pandemic. It was so easy to look at a cube and be like, well, all I have are 365 days to figure this out. Might as well. I have nothing better to do than sleep 16 hours a day. So, so many people got into cubing, at least. And I think because of, at the time, cubing at home, right? So there was a competition on Twitch called Cubing at Home.
I was going to mention
competition. Yeah, our competition, Twisty Puzzle Cup, on Twitch. Everything just went to Twitch, which is insane. So I was talking to so many people in chat that were like, I just started cubing 2 months ago, 3 months ago. I just started cubing June 2020. And I'm like, dang, like so many people. Like the people I'm talking to were not part of the core cubing community, but that's because so many new people are interested in it. And their first idea of cubing content is Twitch, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, Twitch seems to definitely have exploded in 2020. One thing I was going to mention, I don't know if this is related, but I saw that JPerm posted a picture showing that like his views on his channel doubled around Christmas of this year. So it's like later in the pandemic, but he was attributing that to kids getting Rubik's Cubes for Christmas, and you know they're also going to lockdown because of Omicron.
Oh, interesting.
So they're like watching his first tutorial.
Well, I think JPerm had a collab with
with a Twitch streamer, right?
Yeah, with
she had a
Michelle Curry, I
collab.
think.
Yeah, something like that. And then, by the way, guys, like JPerm, like if you guys don't know who JPerm is, it's literally how it sounds. JPERM. Go to his channel. If you've never solved a Rubik's Cube before, you're gonna learn on his channel. And if you're an intermediate Speedcuber, you're gonna learn from his channel. If you're an advanced Speedcuber, maybe you'll go into the comment section and be like, I know more than you, but whatever. Make sure you press like and subscribe button. Anywho, JPerm is awesome, but I don't know. I just feel like it was due time. JPerm is a huge channel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, the Omicron variant, I think the Christmas one is a big one. But I don't know. Do you think like those parents like thought about the Rubik's Cube because of like how much it grew in the earlier on in the pandemic? Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. I think it's more likely that that parents were like, okay, you know, like now that my kid is not going to school, they need something to do, right? And I think like most parents by this point probably grew up with the Rubik's Cube, or at least probably have some notion of like like I played with this in my childhood, right? So it was just like here's this cube, and I guess this sounds kind of condescending. But like, here, go do this, and you can play around with this all day. That way, you won't bother me. I can go do my work, or I can go do my groceries or whatever, right? So that's my guess at least.
Yeah. Well, I do think it's interesting that you mentioned the parents' generation, because like I do hear a lot of older people saying that it was popular in the 80s, and then they just thought it faded off and never came back. Because it feels like it has come back, but in a different way. Because I bet in the 80s there weren't as many cubers like Timon who like are who seem to know everything about cubing.
Yeah.
So there's like hundreds of millions of casuals in the 80s, and maybe now the community is more like specialized. There's not as many people as in the 80s, but they know what they're doing a lot more.
Definitely. No, yeah, definitely.
I think
I think a lot of it comes down to just the amount of cubing content is become a lot more accessible, right? Because I feel like back in the day, you know, probably like the most cubing content you got was maybe an article in a newsletter, or maybe you got like a little pamphlet, or maybe someone decided to write a book like, here's how you can solve the cube. But now, like, you know, I remember the first one I watched was like Dan Brown's You Can Solve the Cube or whatever. But now we have like we have videos for every single level of Speedcuber. Someone who had just got a cube today, you know, someone who, you know, classically, you know, peels the stickers off and wants to actually learn how to do it. You know, people who aren't even Speedcubers but like other like cubing related things. For example, cube mosaics. Those things are so cool. I love cube mosaics.
I don't, Carrie, I don't know what you think. I think cube mosaics are cool, but like, I just don't.
I think they're good gateways for okay, I don't want to use this as a derogatory term, but non-cubers, because they look like they take a ton of work and intelligence. I mean, like, obviously you only have to like solve one side of it to look like what you want, and then like follow a guide. But I think it helps, you know, turn non-cubers into beginning cubers, and then
definitely.
It's a good thing.
I have so many friends like talk about mosaics and be like, "Did you see this mosaic? Did you see this mosaic?" Like, it just doesn't draw entertainment from me.
Well, they go viral.
It definitely looks. They like go viral like so quickly.
Right. So what I mean to say, right, is that it spans everything. Like, so we have like the non-cubers who enjoy cube mosaics, right? Then we have the speed cubers who are like really into like going fast. Then we have like I think there's a lot of also math videos, right? Like on group theory and stuff too.
Yeah. I just remembered that like a couple months ago. So you know Lucas Guerin, Speedcuber. He invited me to this like a virtual event that was celebrating Martin Gardner, who's a recreational mathematician. And I thought we were just gonna be talking about Conway's Game of Life because like that was why they invited me, because I knew something about Conway's Game of Life. But then like one of the hosts of the virtual event had like a whole room with like shelves upon shelves of Rubik's cubes, and it just showed me like, oh yeah, there's another side of the community that just collects. Like, they don't try to solve fast,
right?
And like they're not like little kids. Like they're people who have the money to like buy lots of cubes.
You know, that's an interesting thing. I don't know if I've ever thought about it that much, but it's because our community is so tiny and so new. But I mean, what if one of these days, like, this FTO that's no longer in production is going to like, I don't know, quintuple times its worth, right? It's like
it's a vintage,
it's like a vintage.
Yeah. Dude, no, I guarantee you that there is someone in the community. So, like, if you take apart a cube, you know, there are like all the different mechanics and whatever inside, right? But I can guarantee you that there is someone in the cubing community who can look at one piece and tell you that, oh yeah, this came from this cube. Like, I already know that it came from this cube.
Yeah,
the hardware experts.
Yeah, which is so impressive, because to me, like, almost all of them look exactly the same. The only ones that I think I could maybe pick out back in the day were, I remember when cubes used to have torpedoes in them, and that was like a big selling point. I think which one? I remember my first Waylong that I ever bought didn't have torpedoes, and then the one that my friend bought did have torpedoes or something. And I was just like, man, dude, I really want torpedoes in my cube now.
You know, I always heard, I don't know if this is true, but is it true that Jules is the one that invented torpedoes? Jules Manalong? Do you guys have any idea?
No, I don't know. I don't keep track of the hardware, but
someone's got to tell me in chat if someone, because I know for a fact Diane did not invent torpedoes. They got the idea from somewhere. I just don't know.
Interesting.
Who.
Plagiarism? No. For legal reasons, that's a joke.
No, but yeah, someone invented torpedoes, like a person. Kind of like how Chris Tran did magnets, and now everyone's producing magnets, right?
Yeah.
But I think
that was.
Chris Tran wasn't him either, right? It was like down in the way back, someone would put magnets in a Zanshi or something. Like, you have to go down Reddit to find it, but there was like
I'm sure it's buried in the deep like recesses of speedsolving.com or the speedsolving forum.
That website
the
has been up
SpeedSolve
forever.
dark web. The dark web.
I don't know.
Dark web.
Dark web-ish, I guess.
Yeah. You
But,
will also find. Yeah. Oh, by the way, it has been like a little over half an hour. So do you think we should like split up episodes based on if we hit half an hour?
Yeah,
I
so
don't know.
what I was gonna say is, I think we should wrap this episode up, and then we can continue whatever. I think because we got a lot of good conversation out of this one. And see, I told you, like, so when we were making the plan for these podcasts, right? Chai and I were like, oh yeah, you know, we should be like really, really conservative. You know, we should make sure that we want to really make sure that we hit 30 minutes, right? So we came up with a couple topics, and then I'm like, dude, if we talk about just one of these, we will easily hit 30 minutes. We are not even going to get to the second and third topic. And I think that's exactly what happened. So, yeah.
I mean, a lot of this is about like finding out what we want to do, what we want this to be. So it's just like, I think for me personally, I think there's a minimum for what a podcast should be, but there's just no maximum. Like
There's
it
no
could
maximum.
be there's however long you want it to be, really. And I that's how because like my favorite thing to do. It's my favorite thing to do is just to sleep with a podcast.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's all I do it all the time.
What we should do is we should like randomly scream like
Oh,
like
no.
around an hour into a podcast so that the people sleeping wake up and listen to us.
Wait.
Or we can
wait.
make it like an alarm, right? Where like, you know, like we just talk, and then like they like put on the podcast. They like know that they need to wake up in like 5 hours or whatever.
Oh,
And then we scream right at the 5 hour mark.
5 hour mark.
But 5 hour podcast would be pretty long. I don't know if I'm down for
Yeah. And I think
yeah, that sounds pretty long.
that. But the other thing is, like, we also want to hear what you guys think, right? Like, what do you think about, you know, just us kind of having like maybe like some loose topic and then just kind of rambling. Like this one, we kind of started off with like how we came up with the idea of the podcast, and then went on to like how the pandemic affected things, and literally just went all over the place. Sidebars, as Chai would say.
Sidebars.
Yeah,
or do you want it to be a
sidebars
little
are
bit
good.
more structured? I mean, yeah, let us know either way. We will attempt to do change as we see fit. But yeah, I think, guys, this was a ton of fun. I think we should probably call it here for this episode.
Yeah.
I have an idea.
Oh,
I have a proposal.
Okay,
Oh, wait.
you first.
No. Carrie, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh no, you first.
So my proposal was every time we end a podcast, we need to end it like with a method, right? And so I was thinking, what if we all like try to clap with our eyes closed and try to sync it up?
That is never gonna work.
I thought you meant method like CFOP.
CFOP. What do you mean?
Alright, well-
Like a speed solving method. Like you wanted us to all do one solve using.
We
a
don't
different
even all
method each
use the
time.
same method, right?
I know, but we have to learn. So like, get ready to
Oh
win
my
Tetris.
god! Wait.
Oh.
I'm a CFOP solver. Carrie,
You're
you're
a
a
CFOPper.
Rue solver.
No, I switched back.
Oh, you
Don't tell
switched back.
Don't tell the Rue Facebook group because they really don't like. What do you call
Uh-oh.
them? Traders.
Oh, you're a traitor, Carrie?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Okay,
Oh,
it's fine.
man.
We'll cut this part out.
Yeah,
No,
Carrie
keep
has
it,
the
keep it.
deserter debuff. He has a debuff on him right now. It lasts 10 minutes.
Debuff? No, I want you to keep it because like stirring up a little drama could be quite interesting.
Oh.
Well, you know what else is drama? YouTube removed the dislike button. So
Okay.
Yeah.
We will get into that. That sounds like-
Oh wait. Okay. I talked to a YouTube friend who has actually heard from like. I shouldn't say like too many details, but I think they have some details on like the internals of like YouTube's plan going forward, but they're not allowed to say.
Okay.
Oh. So,
Whoa. I
are you
would be
gonna
very
say in the
interested in that.
future? Are you gonna say in the future, Carrie? We're gonna have breaking news about YouTube. Are we gonna have breaking news on this podcast?
Oh
Well,
my
I'd like
gosh.
to I'd like to give you information that no one else has yet, but I think I have to get it through a different friend, so it's like it takes me time to get it as well.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, that's good. I mean, we are already coming up with more content for the future podcast episodes, which is very good. Maybe we'll do like a one just like on YouTube versus Twitch, or you know,
Yeah.
because we have lots of ideas. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed the first episode of this podcast. I think we should end the podcast with like something. Maybe it can just be like a saying or something like, you know, this has been like overinspected or this has been the look ahead. But you guys have any ideas?
Do you?
How about? I'm trying to think how you could make a pun out of the fact that overinspection in a competition is not good. 8 seconds.
So I have a theory about
12.
Home philosophy. So studying philosophy at home. In order to achieve action A, you can combine any action B with cause C. It doesn't have to be anything related. So, for example, if you'd like to walk the boat, you must be able to solve the cube.
I don't know about walking a boat, but okay. Yeah, I remember this conversation.
I don't remember this.
If you want to fill up your cup, you must be able to see the runway.
It's like one of those things that's like sounds really deep, but means complete
Philosophical,
just nonsense.
means nothing.
Yeah,
I think it means something.
I'm sure you could like connect some concepts or some like works of fiction to make it make sense. But it's
Probably.
just nonsense.
Is that what we're going to end this on? Is just like some random like we just come up with like some philosophical like saying that means nothing?
I think this is the point where I get cut off.
Yeah. Okay, I'm cutting you off. I'm ending the podcast episode. Thank you all for watching. Hopefully this ending was
listening.
Thanks for listening. Hopefully this ending was not so insane that you are like, yeah, I'm never listening to these idiots ever again. And we will see you in the next episode. Ta-ta, bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Bye.